Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV. It's Thursday. It's Thursday, right? It is Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Hello,
It's flying by.
You're right. It is flying by. It's absolutely flying by. World Cup semi-finals are done. One game to go. Yeah. Listen, I can't believe how quickly the whole tournament's gone.
Yeah, well, it's always like that. When you're going through it, it tends to go, slow. But then once it's done, it's like, right, that just went by, flew by. It's more or less over in terms of being an Arsenal fan. The World Cup's over because it's only Saliba left. He probably won't get any game time in the final.
Yeah.
All of our players are pretty much back, if not coming back. So for us, it's over,
Yeah, it is. And we've got Arsenal to look forward to. And I think it's no coincidence that transfer rumours are hotting up even more as we're coming to the end of the World Cup, as we're coming closer and closer to the resumption of the Premier League, the January transfer window. And listen, we thought yesterday was quite a packed show in terms of transfer talk. Today is going to be not quite as much, but not too different, guys. So do stay tuned for the whole show. We've got a few of you in the comments already. Marshall says, I'm stuck on the M25 in traffic. Entertain me. We'll try. Hopefully you enjoy all the news we've got. Hurry up, James, says Chris. The cheek of it. It's 5:05 now. Must have been 5:04 when we went live. But we are here. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
See us seen as well. Messi to win it and end the GOAT debate on Sunday.
I think it's over anyway, but...
Yeah, there is no debate for me.
Yeah, I think for a long time I've never really understood why there was... No. I understood why there was one. I just always was so firmly in the Messi camp.
Yeah. And listen, in terms of a pure football player... especially in my generation, I was born in 1988, so I got to see the last years of Maradona. Not necessarily his best years, and I was very young. But I think what the World Cup does, and getting a World Cup under your belt, what it does is it puts you in the... Listen, for me, he's the greatest player of all time. Obviously, there's players that have come before my time that, they're up there as well. Pele's name is often mentioned. But when you win a World Cup, you get put into a special bracket. And I think that's what he needs to get put into that bracket. Otherwise, the debate is, he didn't ever win the World Cup for his country. That's why you can't talk to him in the same manner you might Maradona, Pele, Zidane, and so on. But yeah, in my opinion, he doesn't need it. I'm glad he got the Copa America. Yeah, I'm glad he got that because, Ronaldo got the Euros and there is a fierce agenda between both sides. Yeah. But for me, Messi's he's different.
When you look at what he did in that Croatia game, and I was...
to one of the best centre-backs in the tournament. Gvardiol was one of the best, if not the best.
Probably the best performing centre-back at the tournament, yeah?
Yeah, so for him to just turn him inside out like that at his age, and Gvardiol's, 20? Crazy.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, the way he just... Did you catch the clip of it when someone was filming from the crowd? And you kind of get a better appreciation for Messi's quick feet in that situation. You're like, unreal. Argentina are going to win the World Cup, says Yang. Then we've got, I get really happy when it's you two, says No. Thank you. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. You've had a lot of me in Turkish. One of these lives, of course, Robbie doing amazing stuff in Qatar. Cecil all over. Where has he been? He's been America. He's been Canada. Buenos Aires, I think. He's been Mexico, Canada. Yeah. What an amazing time he's having as well. But they will be back very, very soon as the World Cup concludes. You will see them back here with us as well. But of course, AFTV in Qatar, Robbie's show every morning. Check that out as well. France winning again is boring, says David. Was selling Giroud a mistake? Asks Andrew. Not for me. Was it for you?
Yes, it was in hindsight.
Oh, there we go.
At the time, I thought not keeping. We just literally bought Lacazette 6 months ago. So at the time, I thought Lacazette, Aubameyang, that's probably a better... not pairing, but that's better options in the striking department. But when you see what Giroud's gone on to do, and one thing about Giroud is, listen, I liked him at Arsenal. It's just that I just never saw him as the main man. And obviously he's the main man for France, and he's bagging in goals in the World Cup. But we didn't have an Mbappe on one side, we didn't have a Dembele on the other side, and it was very different. So in hindsight, he would have been a much better backup to Aubameyang than Lacazette turned out to be. So it was a mistake.
Fair enough. Graham says, pre-contract agreement done for Mudryk. We'll hear more soon. Oh, Graham's got information. But we do have some updates on Mudryk. It's not quite as convincing as that. But like we said yesterday, when it rains it pours, as one bit of information started to come in and David Ornstein came out with the big info, we're seeing more and more. Credit to Fabrizio Romano. He said a couple of weeks ago that he believed Mudryk was Arsenal's priority, and it seems to be coming to fruition. Everyone is sort of coming out with a lot of the same stuff, which is, this is what Arsenal are trying to do. Before we go into all the news, and as you can see in the headlines, nothing to do with Mudryk for this title actually. It's all around a £20 million midfielder. Yuri Tielemans, Danilo. Tielemans is the one they're saying now. What happened with that Danilo stuff? We're going to try and explore that a little bit today. But I want to just touch on something else very, very quickly. I don't know if you even have an opinion on this. And what I haven't done, because it's sort of something I decided not that long ago, I'm talking the last hour that I wanted to talk about, was this girl who has been going viral on TikTok. For
on Twitter as well.
I've seen it on Twitter, but I think it's on TikTok where it's largely gone viral. And from what I've been reading, understanding, I've been trying to kind of get like any sort of official reports I can, but I mean, it's quite difficult. A lot of the stuff you're seeing is just on social media. And essentially, I think what angered people, I have no idea why this would possibly anger people, was her basically saying, poor Ronaldo, the airport in Portugal's that way or something, and was enjoying the fact, I believe she's Moroccan, was enjoying the fact that Morocco beat Portugal and knocked them out of the World Cup. Now, call me crazy, or maybe I'm being completely fair. I think this is exactly what the World Cup is about. Everyone coming together, watching football, amazing stories, people from all over the world, of all different ages as well, just enjoying it. And I just find it incredible that there's multiple people, but the fact there'd even be one person who watches that video and gets in any way, shape or form offended by it. I mean, unless there's something I've missed, but I mean, the bit I've seen is just having fun. I just don't know why. And we've seen other fans, sort of trolling Messi, trolling Ronaldo, where's Messi, all that kind of stuff. Like, people are just having fun with it. And, I just think it's incredible. Now apparently she's receiving hate for it, and I just think it's unbelievable that the world of social media, it's messed up in so many ways. You saw the reaction to, players getting knocked out of the World Cup and the kind of things they receive in their DMs and all that. That's outrageous. But it just never ceases to amaze me what people are willing to do and what people think is acceptable and what people get offended by sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen some disgusting comments in regards to that young girl on Twitter. I haven't seen it on TikTok. I'm not a TikToker. I'm not even a Twitter guy, but sometimes I open it. Obviously, I got the big six as well. And some of the comments I've seen that have gone viral off the back of the young girl, having a bit of a laugh, a bit of banter. It's disgusting. And growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, freedom of speech was something I backed. But then you look at Twitter and you look at what the internet has brought, and freedom of speech is not necessarily a good thing, because there's plenty of idiots out there. There's plenty of disgusting individuals out there. And it's better I don't hear from them or see what they have to think than giving them a platform to do just that. And these platforms have gone so far now that it's going to be hard for them to kind of go back and verify everyone and make sure that if there are things that go on like this, they can track the people or persons down. For me, the internet, there is a dark side of the internet, and to be honest, the dark side on Twitter dominates, and it's just disgusting. A lot of these people haven't, received a slap in the face before, and they deserve it from some of the comments I've seen. I can't lie. This is why I try and stay off social media as much as possible, even though I'm on YouTube, and social media is a big part of promotion and kind of getting your brand and name out there. I don't actually like it. I don't like social media. And that's one of the main reasons why, because you just have fools behind a display pic or behind the username that think they can say what they want, how they want, without any repercussions. And more often than not, they're right. There is no repercussions. Hence why we've seen it gradually get bigger and bigger in terms of the disgusting comments, I wouldn't even say hate fueled, because how can you hate a young girl just having a bit of a laugh about, Portugal being eliminated by her home nation? It's just, it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
Was it Thierry Henry that left social media because he said basically was it Henry? I think he left because he said, help me out in the comments, guys, until it's kind of governed properly, he doesn't want to sort of support it. And I got tremendous respect for that. I just find
people like that comment those kind of comments don't deserve to be alive.
I mean,
full stop. They don't deserve to be alive. That person, that some of the comments I've seen on Twitter, the world is a better place without those people that have used their fingers to type out those comments. I say that with chest.
Liz,
life is precious, 100%. But that sort of people, they did that. This is not what, you know, God created everything for.
I find I hope she's all right. I see things on Twitter about kind of the way, you know, it's affected her, and I hope she's okay. I think a lot of what I'm seeing now, people are speaking out about it and just talking about how ridiculous it is. And I just wanted to have my say. I just wanted to say, look, you know, I don't know if any of you, we have an amazing AFTV audience. Like, some of you guys are amazing, you know, people who are regularly here interacting with us. But there are some as well who want to troll and whatever. Just if you've ever sent a comment like that, or just have a really good look at yourself and just think, you know, why am I doing this? What does this gain? Who am I affecting? Even if you do think it's for fun, even if you do in some twisted, sick way think that it's your way of bantering, just have a really good think about what you say, especially behind a keyboard and stuff. But yep. we'll leave it there. Hopefully that kind of all sort of you know, sorts itself out for her.
Which it won't. Like I said, the internet's too far gone now for these regulations in a way to come in. But it is what it is. I just urge people to not revolve their life around social media, because social media is such a big part of people's lives now. You know, it's ingrained in the youth coming up. I just urge people to just, you know, life is this is not life. This here is not life. That iPad is not life. Life is when you go outside. That is life. Your family, your friends, the people you're close with, you interact with.
Yeah, I see a lot of you people. A lot of people debating it in the comments with some. I see a lot of you agreeing with what we're saying, and listen, some sort of kind and rightful words being put in there as well from the comment section. You know, and showing support as well for the girl. So anyway, I hope she's all right. Let's talk about kind of Arsenal news and what's been happening today. The kind of first thing that kind of stumbled across me already, because I've seen links to Felix and Mudryk, and we're going to talk about that later, because I guess you could say there's been development in those areas. But the big one that popped out to me today was Yuri Tielemans again. Now, I was Google translating a Spanish article. That's what my Thursday was spent doing. And let me just get the link. It was from Sport. Here we go. Where is it? I mean, Milinkovic-Savic came up again, by the way, according to Mateo Moreto. So midfielders getting mentioned again. But it was Yuri Tielemans. Spanish publication Sport said that he was a cheaper option that Barcelona were looking at. Obviously, we know that they don't have... Well, they always seem to be able to get the funds and the players. They don't have all the funds that they could want and need. And Tielemans was an option they were looking at. But he's, you know, destined to, or set to, or very likely to join Arsenal for 20 million apparently this January. Now, a Spanish publication has got this information via the fact that they're covering what Barcelona are doing in the window. So it reminds me a little bit of the Evan Ndika rumours, in that it was Roma wanted him, but he supposedly agreed with Arsenal, and that's why it's not happening. But then at the same time, no disrespect to Il Romanista, where we got the news from Evan Ndika, but I think Sport, you know, 2 million followers on Twitter, slightly more established as a publication, and or at least in terms of transfers and stuff, I see their name popping up a lot, and that is a name that we haven't really seen mentioned that much in the last couple of months since a really busy summer. And here he is back at the forefront of at least today's news.
Listen, you know, I like him. I think he'd add something to the squad for sure. Probably looked at in a better light maybe 18 months ago in comparison to now, considering last season wasn't his best season at Leicester. He hasn't really started the season well, but he hasn't been bad this season for Leicester either. He had a terrible World Cup, so did Belgium all round, if I'm honest. So I guess in terms of his stocks being this low, people might just look and dismiss the idea of bringing in Tielemans. But I just think, you know, you look at the starting 11 we have now, and when you look at the bench in moments where you need a goal or you need that added bit of maybe creativity in the midfield, I think Tielemans kind of fits the bill, and by that I mean the price tag, his Premier League experience, age. But it comes down to Mikel. If we sign him, then Mikel he obviously wanted him, and I trust. I'm going to reiterate what I said yesterday. I trust Mikel much more than I did 18 months ago in terms of player recruitment. So if he thinks he's the man for it, he's the man for it. I'm behind it.
Yeah, he's a player I really, really rate. I've said it countless times on this show, on this channel. I'm a huge fan of Yuri Tielemans. If we could do it, I'd absolutely want us to do it. I think he's a different profile, which sounds crazy because we do have a lot of technicians in our team, but he reminds me of a Thiago style player, not quite as good, but in that he wants to get the ball, he wants to piece everything together, he can do it from deeper areas, he can score goals from range. I don't think he's going to be that lung-busting midfielder getting to the back post, but then again, I didn't think Granit Xhaka was going to be that, so who knows what Mikel Arteta has up his sleeve. But he seems like a real controller in the middle of the pitch. That we don't always see it for Leicester, but then do you expect Leicester to have most possession or have the majority of possession in most games? No, I think it's maybe 2/3 of Premier League games they will, or half the Premier League games they will. I think Arsenal are expected to go into most games with most of the ball, and I think that's when you could really see the best of Yuri Tielemans. So I'm a huge fan, and he scores goals, and he can have an impact in the final third.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in terms of being able to control a game. Definitely far off Thiago. I know you said that, but definitely far off it in quality there. But what he gives it an option for a double pivot. The reason I say that is because a lone centre midfielder, I think defensively, he hasn't really got the heart for it. Been caught out a few times over the last 18 months in terms of not really tracking back with, enough determination, energy. And at a club like Arsenal, if I see that 3-4 times, I'm done with a player. I need every player to, be on job for 90 minutes, week in, week out. If you lose the ball, you get back into position, you try win it back as soon as possible. One thing I can't accept is a lack of trying.
True.
So that's where I worry about him defensively in the middle, but in a double pivot, I think he can work. And even though we've moved away from that, there's going to be times and games moving forward, especially when we enter Champions League, where that might be a change that needs to be made in some games to secure up the middle a bit more.
Yeah, just reading the comments are saying a lot of people are very keen on Tielemans. Kalija says, Tielemans, we need him now. Bit of a defensive liability, though, says Colby. Is that kind of what you're touching on a little bit? That sort of...
Yeah.
Is that defensive... is it a lack of defensive quality, or is it a mental thing?
Mental. Because like I said...
I feel it is more.
I need to see you try. If you try and fail, I can understand that. But if you don't try, I can't understand that.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes in games, I think the biggest example I have is the one off the top of my head. When Tottenham won 3-2 last year against Leicester, I think coming back from behind, he gave the ball away in the middle, failed to run back, pretty much just jogged. Tottenham got another goal, and obviously that had an effect on us at the end of the season. But he had moments like that throughout the season, and I just think if you don't try, I'm looking at you sideways. I'm thinking, listen, I get it. You're at Leicester. You might have wanted to move away from Leicester in the previous summer. Maybe you think you need that next step up. I get all of that. I can understand it. I don't think Leicester fans can. So if you come to this club, I'm not going to understand it if I ever see that. And like I said, you get a handful of those before me as a fan starts looking at you differently and maybe turns on you in terms of, I don't want to see him in the starting lineup again.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never been too worried about all that because he's never struck me as a player that lacks commitment. But those moments are they're kind of eye-opening moments, as in that not eye-opening. They're standouts. You're like, ooh, that was a bad pass to the Tottenham goal. That was a bit lazy. Or, that clip that went viral. I've been trying to track back and stuff, and what I never know is I never really look at what minute in the game that was or what the score was, and that clip goes around, and and people start having their bits to say on it. But
we got a good point from Nathan. He said he agrees. That's why we love El Nene. We can all see he isn't as skilled as other players, but you can see he tries, and we love that. That's a great example. El Nene's not a world beater, but I've been more than happy with El Nene since he's come to the club. You look at the fee we paid. Yeah. You look at the expectation, and you look at his application and delivery. We've got what we wanted, in my opinion, for that price and for the profile of player.
I can agree more. Yeah.
Try. That's 90 minutes week in, week out. You give 110%, and then we analyze the rest.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just trying to think more on this Tielemans stuff. I mean, I could come in midfielder. Would he start? Probably not at the moment. But then if you're Leicester, okay, time's ticking, big time, because your ability to have control of your destiny in this situation diminishes in about 45 days. Basically end of January. Yeah. It's done. That's, it is then completely up to Youri Tielemans what he wants to do. Of course, unless they're happy to lose him on a free, but you wouldn't think. So you imagine they're going to try offer him a new contract, or have done, and Tielemans can sign that if he wants, doesn't have to. He can then sign for whoever he wants on a big old salary if he fancies, come the summer. Or January is that opportunity for Leicester to go, listen, right, who's willing to seriously pay? And I can see a few clubs wanting a Tielemans. I could see Chelsea, United, Arsenal. I could see Tottenham. They lack a little bit of creativity in midfield, really. They might want him to play as kind of in a 3-4-3. One of your central midfielders could be a little bit more creative, I suppose, because you've got three behind. So I could see a few clubs wanting him, going, listen, 15, 20 million, let's do a deal. And as it comes to later in the window, they might just panic Leicester and go, all right, we'll do it. Unless Tielemans has got an agreement with another club, aka an Arsenal, which is what we keep hearing from other reports. And he goes, listen, thanks for all that. You can agree all the deals you want, but I'm staying and I'm going to walk for free. So,
yeah, I think you've got to balance it. I think 20 million with 5 months to go on a contract is a bit over the top. And
what would you say is fair? 15?
I think 15, especially if we actually were in for him in the summer and Leicester pretty much priced us out of it. I'd look at them sideways and be like, listen, you priced us out in the summer. You could have got 25 mil, but you wanted more. Now the ball's in our court, per se.
Yeah, and Arsenal feel that there's no great deal of pressure to do this deal. A, because a lot of fans are talking more about 6 rather than another 8 in the squad. B, because Mudryk has really come to the forefront as the priority. Felix is now being talked about a lot. I don't think Arsenal will be feeling a pressure like we missed out on Douglas Luiz in the last window, so we really have to deliver on this role, if that makes sense. I think there will be a degree of calm around the deal. So I think it comes down to, listen, Leicester, can you agree a deal with us that makes sense? If not, we'll take it for 3 and 5 months. I think it might come down to that.
Yeah, I know you mentioned a few clubs that could be. I'll probably take United out of that, considering Eriksen, Fernandes, Casemiro came in the summer. They have a few midfielders. They still got Fred and McTominay there as well. I don't think they want to have them there, but they still do. But Tottenham, yes, they could do with a Tielemans. Chelsea, at this moment in time, Chelsea could do with a lot. But yeah, they could be interested. At the same time, I think with the Brozier injury, their main focus, without a shadow of a doubt, is bringing another striker in. If it wasn't already prior to that injury, because it's not like opposite the ground running or Sterling, and it doesn't seem like they've got a focal point up top. So I'd say we're primed in the best position for him, but that's where the balance comes into play. If you want him, how much do you want him? If you want him that much, then pay the 20 million and get it done in the first week of the window. If you have other priorities and you're looking to focus elsewhere, then hold out and see if you can get him for 15 at the end. If not, hopefully 3 in the summer, even better.
What question this is? Nothing to do with Tielemans, but it's a good question. Bentner Banter. What a name that would be. Bentner Banter has sent in a super chat saying, isn't Nketiah the best academy striker we've produced since Lord Nicholas Bentner himself? I just added that. He just said since Nicholas Bentner. Serious question. Can't think of many.
Well, we can't think of many. There's no point in putting them in a list, because it's not like we've had an abundance of options to
Carlos
pick from.
Vela?
Yeah, but we bought Carlos Vela with some hype already.
Did we?
Yeah. Fair enough. So, there's not many options there to create a list out of it or have a debate out of it. In reality, even with Eddie, we don't know. We don't know if he's going to even be better than a Nicholas Bentner. So
I'm not joking. I think Eddie is better. I think Eddie is a better player than Eddie.
Player, yes. Striker, I don't know yet.
So, yeah, I think Eddie Nketiah is a better player than Nicholas Bentner, in my opinion. But Bentner had some moments.
He did.
Goal in the North London Derby, goal in the Carabao Cup semi-finals against... Who was it? It wasn't Cardiff. It was...
Carabao Cup final.
Ipswich, I think. Carabao Cup semi-final.
Oh, yeah.
Cut inside, little sort of flick behind the
He had
leg.
all the confidence in the world.
Oh, he did.
He had all the confidence. And that's where his moments came from, his confidence, not necessarily his footballing ability.
Did he score at the Nou Camp? I think he might have. Let us know in the comments. Oh, Nicholas.
Wait, don't remind me of that. Was he the one that when Wilshere played it into him, the guy, instead of taking a shot, he failed to take a touch?
I think he just sort of kicked at the keeper. Yeah, we would have been through. We would have gone through
away goals. I remember
Let
that.
me have a little look. Barcelona.
I remember that.
4-1 Arsenal. But I'm talking the year before where we went 1-0 up. Do you remember? We were 2-0 down at the Emirates, pulled it back to 2-2, Fabregas penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Then the year after, then a couple of weeks after.
I think you're right. Yeah, you did.
We were 1-0 up at.
I think you're right.
Let's have a little look.
We played them so many times. I can't remember the game.
I know.
All of the games now. We must have had that.
It was Bentner in the 19th minute. Do you know how long that lead lasted?
7 minutes.
2 minutes.
2. Fuck it. No. I get him more credit than it's worth.
I remember thinking, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to beat the mighty Barcelona for about 90 seconds. The aggregate score was 6-3. But we were leading that tie at one point. And then the year after, we were leading it a couple times. We were leading it when we went 2-1 up at the Emirates. We were leading it when we pulled it back to 1-1. I think it was an own goal from a header, from a corner.
Was that the Van Persie red card one?
Then Van Persie gets the red card. And then that Bentner chance. Yeah. That would have put us through.
Yeah.
Unreal. That team that lost 4-1 in Barcelona in 6th of April 2010. Almunia, Sanya, Vermaelen, Sylvestre, Clichy, Diaby, Rosicky, Nasri, Walcott, Denilson, Bentner. I mean...
Denilson.
Surprised it was only 4.
We had some funny gems in there back in the day.
There's a lot of technicians there. Rosicky, Nasri, Diaby, but maybe a lack of a holding midfielder might have been part of the reason. What's that?
That might have been one of the biggest issues we had.
Maybe one of the problems. Almunia was the damn joke.
He was a joke from his first minute in an Arsenal shirt.
He had one great game. Do you remember...
Almunia?
Yeah, do you remember Champions League semi-final? I mean, we lost. It was away at Old Trafford. We lost 1-0, but I mean, it should have been like 4 or 5, and he was the only reason we stayed in it.
Yeah, but ever since the Champions League final, I'll never forgive him. Getting beaten at your near post twice, even the Belletti one, if you look back at it, it was an own goal from Almunia. It was going wide, and this guy's got his legs open, just a free-for-all, Yeah.
We miss your super chat, says Juice WRLD. Apologies. Yes, you're right. Rafael Leao, same price as Felix, can play left wing or striker. Listen, don't get me started. I would love Rafael Leao. I just don't see that happening. But I would love him.
Good player, man.
Yeah, anyway, reminiscing over some not so great memories. Just remember, I was quite an early Arsenal. I'd been supporting Arsenal for about 4 or 5 years at that point. So there's not a lot of reason for me to be loyal. But I was. I stayed through it.
That's why it's different for different people, because when I grew up, Arsenal in the 90s was a bit, up and down. I get that. But, late 90s, we kick into gear and winning leagues, challenging year in, year out. So I grew up on that. When I'm going to school week in, week out, I've only really got Man United fans that can stand up and have a debate with. And even then, when you go player for player, Arsenal would tend to win the debate because we had a bit more flair about us. We were better on the eye a bit more. But then you grew up in a different time.
Yeah. Just after the good bit.
Yeah, just after. So you grew up in, muddier times, let's say. And
I grew up at a time, though, where Arsenal were the kind of leaders in this kind of now football we see every week. We were doing it in 2007, and we were setting a trend that it started to then spiral. Now teams all wanted to play good football, wanted to be on the ball, wanted to be good on the eye, wanted to have flary players, creators. And I still think, while I've probably seen better Arsenal teams, if not certainly teams that are as good, and I've also seen some amazing teams, that 2007 time, that Arsenal team, the way they played football, for me, maybe not quite as good as anything I've seen. I mean, nothing compares to Barcelona tiki-taka and Man City of 2017 to 2019, for example. But it played unbelievable football. And the one thing is, I think that is a big part of why I was so enchanted as an Arsenal fan, even when we weren't winning things, we were bang in the middle of our drought then, was that we were just still playing some unbelievable football. Hlebs, Rosicky, Fabregas. I mean, they were just such a pleasure to watch week in, week out. Yeah,
no, listen, I agree with you, but because I saw some glory days, it started jarring me when the younger fans, and not necessarily just younger, even some of my age mates and older, would turn around and say, but we still play good football.
Yeah, no, of course, listen.
Good football don't pay the bills, in a sense.
Well, Chelsea have, but apart from Maurizio Sarri and a couple other seasons, they've largely not played great football. I mean, yes, they played good football, scored lots of goals, but they've had success. And if you were asking Arsenal and Chelsea fans who was happier during some of those years, Chelsea fans would be saying, them. So, substance has to accompany style. But I always felt we were never that far from the real substance we were looking for. I always say this, and it's not very popular because people think I'm a deluded Arsenal fan, but I look back at 3 seasons where I think we've had this conversation before, but 3 seasons where I thought that with a little bit of luck or a little bit of something or that one extra player, the title would have been ours. And I think 2007 was one of them. I know that Man United team were unreal, but we were quite a few points ahead of them before the Eduardo injury. We were fantastic to watch. I thought the 13-14 season, Ramsey got injured when he was having that unbelievable season. But also, I think Cazorla missed large spells out. We had quite a few injuries that kind of swept through the team. And 15-16, when Leicester won it, people forget that the first part of that season, we were really keeping up. People talk about it as a Tottenham-Leicester title charge, but we were up there all the way through to February. We beat them in that last-minute winner, and I thought we'd go on to do it, but a lack of depth ultimately cost us again. So I think those are all seasons where we really could have lifted the title.
But that's the pattern: injuries, lack of depth. You failed to get over the line.
That's why we have PTSD going into this season.
Yeah, you need the depth.
Just enjoy it. Look how good you are. No, but I've seen it crash and burn.
You can't rely on a fully fit squad for 38 games, 50 games in a season. And this conversation just now, what you've just gone through, pretty much proves that you can't leave any room for doubt. And Arsenal over the years left a lot of room for doubt. 1 injury, 2 injuries, bang, it's over. Obviously, we're hoping for different this season. We've just had a big injury to a big player. At a time where we can, bring someone in January. Will the club do it, or will they rest on their laurels and top 4 be enough to kind of fill up the pockets?
Yeah, always great to see Aston in the comments. Look, Aston, when's your trip to London, man? We want to get you here on AFTV. We want to show you the London life like you showed us Orlando. Let us know, man. But he says we should have won in 2007, 10, 14 and 15. Yeah, I agree with some of them. I'm not sure 2010. I know we played some great football.
Definitely played good football, but yeah.
Fabregas, Wilshere, Song.
Yeah.
But I remember who won it that year. I think it was either United or Chelsea. I'm not sure I ever believed we were quite as good as them.
Yeah, no, they had more depth than us for sure. They had a better squad than us for sure. Starting 11 for starting 11, yeah, you can make an argument, and we definitely played some good football, but they had winners in their side, and that's a big difference too. We were pretty much a side that didn't necessarily have big winners, but we had quality players.
Well, in 2007-8, we had like Flamini, who was in midfield brilliant for that season, and Rosicky and Hleb, had experience, though I don't know how old they are, maybe 24, 25, something like that. Yeah, 3 strikers, and then Van Persie, Eduardo, Adebayor, Henry had just left, and you had Gallas and Toure. Okay, Gallas didn't end up being the centre back we hoped, but there were things. You get Sanya and Clichy bombing up and down the right and left, and then when you go back to those other seasons, 2014 and 16, Cazorla, Ozil, Sanchez, players like that were there. They were world class, and you felt, okay, for our deficiencies, they might get us over the line. And so I had faith in players like that. But yeah, it never quite happened. But
we should have. Was it? Well, when's United's last league? 2013-14.
12-13.
12-13. That we should have won the league then. And I don't say that because of the league season. If we kept Van Persie, we would have won the league.
Do you think?
100%. Van Persie was coming off.
City had got a title by that point.
Van Persie was coming off his best season for Arsenal, fully fit, quality player, one of the world's best at that time. We had brought in Cazorla and Podolski. I was gearing up for a title charge. We sell Van Persie.
Yeah, that was good. I think I just expected him to go, to be honest. But yeah. What could be? Yeah. Listen, Arteta was there for a lot of that pain, so I hope he's using it to fuel. I hope he's sitting there. The conversation we're having. I hope he's sitting there in LA with Josh Kroenke, Stan Kroenke, and Cecil, and saying, "Listen, guys, this is what I need." I was there for that pain. I've been denied titles. Don't deny me the money for it. Rai says, Almunia was a nightmare at Arsenal. All I remember of him was Messi smashing 4 goals past him in the quarterfinals whilst chipping over his head being won. Yeah, he took the piss, didn't he, Messi?
That Messi goal in the 6-yard box when he just dinks it over him and just buries it. It's disgusting.
Unreal. Wayne says, 2015-16, when Giroud decided to forget how to score for 5 months. I had this big debate on DR Sports with Matisse. Matisse couldn't believe my opinion and my stance on Giroud, which isn't that I think he's a bad player or ever was a bad player. I think he probably wasn't given the credit he deserved at the time, but now I think it's gone too far the other way, and I don't really understand the comparisons that he is, getting in terms of with other players. I basically pointed. I said, listen, he had some good moments for Arsenal, don't get me wrong, but he had some stinkers. Let's not pretend that it was all swimming at Arsenal. I mean, when he left, I think most people were kind of, like you said at the time, okay, hindsight's one thing, but at the time I think people were like, you know what, fine, bring him.
It is what it is, yeah.
Yeah, but listen, like a fine wine, he's got better and better, in fairness to him. And what a career he's had, and I can only credit him for that. We shouldn't have sold RVP, says Jason. I agree with you. If we kept him, we could have won it. So this was meant to be a transfer show, but we've gone down memory lane.
Yeah, Tielemans you've discussed.
Not even a great memory lane. We have discussed Tielemans. Let's go through just some of the other stuff. Danilo now being linked to Monaco, and we did discuss, I think yesterday, that Danilo is not really considered a priority or a target really for Arsenal.
Well, if Monaco's the next destination, then I just look at that. I don't know much about the player, but if it's only Monaco that's interested, then he mustn't be that great after all.
Yeah,
I know it's not the best way to analyze, of course, not. But I just look at it like if we expect him to come Arsenal, challenge Partey and compete for a first 11 spot, then I'd expect the other teams to be interested in him to be bigger and better teams than Monaco. Yeah,
it's funny how it works, because I often think that there are players that were either highly rated on Football Manager or highly talked about, in articles or on YouTube or whatever, and they don't get that move to the big club, and then I'm often looking at them in the same way you've just said there. I think Tielemans was one of them. I think Tielemans was once, and then went to Monaco, didn't really happen, got his loan move to Leicester, they made it permanent, and now everyone's reflecting and go, why didn't we all just take a gamble on Tielemans? But at the time there must have been a reason.
Then again, look, I've just thought to myself, who else wanted Ben White, who else wanted Ramsdale, and so on. So who am I again to dismiss it just like that?
It's a fair point. I don't think it's dismissing it. I think it's a fair question to ask. But you're not making any sweeping statements or judgments on the player. It's just, okay, that's the state of play. Let's see who else comes in for him. What do you guys think about Kessie, says Anthony? Way better fit than Tielemans. Yeah, maybe as a 6, but I think Kessie is probably going to get a lot of game time at Barcelona now. I don't know how much longer Busquets is going to be playing.
Yeah, true.
There was a Barca fan on DR Sport saying that they reckon it won't be too much longer. So
true.
Yeah, we'll see. Mudryk, again, it was Simon Collins in the Standard who, again, I say again, it was his article, but I say again because there's more rumours about Mudryk, but he was basically saying that, talks are going ahead, Arsenal and Mudryk, and this is it now. You're seeing now this spiral of news start to come out. The main journalists who cover Arsenal, the ones who seem to be at the forefront of news, when it breaks, they are all kind of backing up what's being said.
Yeah.
And that's when you know that something really has legs. I think it was similar with Zinchenko, and other players, Gabriel Jesus. You'd see it once, you'd be like, okay, that's an interesting source, and then, everyone starts coming out and it picks up fire. And
I hope we get it done early. That's the only thing, because we've had enough time to talk to him, no World Cup and so on. Shakhtar don't return till February, so I'd hope that if all of it is true, then the first week of January, the first few days, he comes through the door.
Yeah, I agree. Felix was mentioned again, rumours popping up. People are now starting to really wonder whether Arsenal might go down the route of sacrificing midfielder this January, which contradicts the reports that we've been talking about in Yuri Tielemans today. But I'm wondering whether Arsenal might see an opportunity and just go, when Arteta was talking about opportunities, well, that's a metaphor for what Turkish would like to do to some of the squad players.
No, because I'm seeing comments here about the hat is putting people off and this and that, and I'm thinking it started putting me off as well, and I thought, let me just
look back and just, was it? Fair enough.
Sorry, I know, taking the attention completely away from what we're talking about.
It's all good. You do what you've got to do. Wouldn't want to slow you down. Do you think we can get both?
Sorry, both who? You just listen. The chat is just you know who you are in the chat. You see what you made me do?
Both Bellerin and Mustafi. Think we can get both?
Oh my god! Throw me off the set as well, mate. Seriously.
Felix and Mudryk. We
can or will? Which one are you asking me?
I'm going to ask you both questions because I know there's different answers.
If Atletico are willing to do a loan to buy, yes, we can get both in. If they're not, no, we can't.
Okay, so you don't think it's a case that Arsenal would... Right. So if by the end of January we're seeing both players with a shirt, what are the comments saying?
No, they're just laughing.
I just put, oh Lord. Standing there with the shirts in hand, smiling on Arsenal.com, the chance of having them both, it would have to be a compromise from one of the selling clubs in terms of what kind of package deal we do.
Yeah, it had to be the compromise from Atletico because, with Mudryk, it seems like the fee's, viable in January. It's a fee that we probably can afford. With Felix, then again, who's really going to pay top dollar for Felix in January? And I'm not just talking about Arsenal here. It's very hard to get, 70, 80, 100 mil for a player in January, especially in this climate. It's only really English-based teams that have the money to do that. So I'm sure they would be open to that. And if they are, then yes, we can.
The word saga. We see that, thrown around all said place. I think João Felix it's becoming a saga now. What I mean by that is multiple reports, more than one club constantly being mentioned, quotes here and there, whether it be by player, representatives, people within the club, journalists, whatever it might be. It's picking up a bit of, in the same way you could say Mudryk is, but it feels like Arsenal front runners. That wouldn't really make it a transfer saga. But, But like when Hazard, they didn't know where he was going to go. It became a real transfer saga. Erling Haaland, Mbappe, or maybe not Mbappe, it was always around. But you know what I mean? Those players that it's just like, right, where's their future? And it just develops into Jude Bellingham. Yeah,
that's a current one.
That's ongoing. An absolute current transfer saga, and I think that's what Felix is becoming now.
Yeah, because it seems like he's being touted as someone that's available. So, clubs will be sniffing about, seeing if they can make it happen in January. But again, it all comes down to Atletico and what they want out of it. Do they just want to clear the wages for the rest of this season and get their fee later?
Yeah.
Or do they want the fee now? Which, in my opinion, there's only 2 or 3 clubs in world football that could probably afford a fee for him in January.
I have no idea how football finances really work, right? But just putting on a common sense hat for a second. Most big deals happen in January for a reason, not just because it's when probably the buying club has a better understanding of finances and what competitions are in that season, whatever. But also I think selling clubs have a better understanding of what they need or whatever. Now, Atletico Madrid, come January, they probably I think they would be very pessimistic themselves about getting a big fee for a player like Felix in January. Because I think they just think like, we will have planned for our financial situation for the year or whatever. Maybe a loan for 6 months, knowing we have a guaranteed 75 million or whatever in the summer, actually just works on the books for them.
They're knocked out of Champions League, right? And
they are out.
They didn't drop into the Europa League.
No. I think they fully finished 4th in their group, and that might be really important to them. Like they might really just think, listen, all right, we'll take it.
And they're 5th in La Liga. So as much as you're right, you'd expect, and teams do they look at the projection, money, resources, and all of that for the year. If things go pear-shaped in the first 5 months, then the revenue forecast changes for the second half of the season. For example, Barcelona, they sold whatever they needed to sell in terms of, a section of this, a section of that in the summer to bring in all these names. They get knocked out of the Champions League, and then it's like shit. So they're probably gonna, want something for De Jong in January, or maybe, Depay already seems like, he's one that's gonna be on the move. Similar to Atletico, 5th in the league, out of the Champions League. The forecast of revenue in the next 5-6 months isn't the same as it was 5 months ago, heading into the season. So decisions have to be made, and Felix is a player that hasn't had much game time for them this season. So he's probably the one that they look at and think, look at the wages, look at the importance to the team. Let's try and move him on.
But again, right? So if you're Barcelona and you're thinking, we'll offload De Jong for the right price, that I would imagine that right price is lower today than it was in the summer, because in the summer, before they'd really done all their business, I think there was a let's kind of get what we need to supplement this. But they took the gamble. They didn't sell De Jong. They gambled, and as you said, sold whatever percentage here or right there or whatever it was to be able to pull off these deals. Didn't get into the Champions League. I think that was the gamble, that ultimately performances would help to subsidise some of the deals they've done. And now they've left themselves in a situation where it might be, we need the cash, and De Jong, 40 million for De Jong is worth more to us than having De Jong. Whereas back in the summer it was, we'll happily keep him, so if you want him, it's going to be 70 million.
Yeah, very different.
It
They'd be open to, and even De Jong, we need a midfielder. I want this club to improve this squad in January. That's the bare minimum. Whether it's a striker, a midfielder, a winger, 2 or 3, 2 or 4 positions that we need to fill, just improve the side.
Yeah.
Because last year, I think we mentioned it already. I definitely mentioned it on Supporters Club. I've done a Supporters Club with Curtis and Dexter, by the way. That's out tomorrow at 5 p.m. We won't be going live. We'll be premiering that, so look out for that. It was a good one. What was you talking about?
De Jong.
Yeah, De Jong is you look at it and think Bruno Guimaraes last year. If we had 70 of Vlahovic, why did we wait so long to find out the decision that he had to make, apparently? Why didn't we go take a chunk of that out and go improve our midfield? In the end, we didn't improve either position. And then we leave January with our tail between our legs, and then the season ends the way it did.
Yeah, I agree. Rai says, guys, a bit off topic, but who's doing the fan cams on Saturday versus Juve? Robbie's in Qatar with Flex, Cecil travelling around the world, so who's stepping up? Rai, we are in the process of figuring that out. But don't worry, AFTV will be covering the game. And I know I'm around, so wherever they want me. I'll be watching it. I'll be, getting views of people. Don't you worry. We'll be covering it here on AFTV. What else have we got? Aston says, we did a financial analysis on TGP, Mike from Gooners versus Cancer, but he found that we could afford 3 players at 200k for 50 million each and still be under 2018-19. Fair play. Good work. Go check that out, guys.
Gooners Pod. Big up Mike. Big up Aston as well.
Absolutely, all the time. We need you both back in London. Come on.
Mike's coming in London in January. So we're gonna get him in and do some content as well. Yeah, he's here in January.
Mike. Honestly, I can't tell you how welcoming Mike, Aston, and everyone we met out in the States were. Honestly, it was an absolute blast.
Bring me back.
Oh yeah, trust me. Diallo says, top show. Thank you so much, Diallo, and thank you for always being there, supporting. Not just the super chats, but being there, commenting, adding to the conversation. We really appreciate it. We see you there, Diallo. Thank you so much. He says, top show. So the AVP boys went back and rated every signing. Arsenal Vision podcast, that's it. Went back and rated every signing since 2019 summer as either success or failure, nothing in between. How do you rank KT?
It doesn't fall into either, which people could say marks him as a failure. And me being a fan of Kieran Tierney, I struggle to call him a failure, but I would understand if people do, because it hasn't been a success, has it? Because at crunch time, unfortunately for him, his body lets him down. So he'd lean more towards that than he would success at the moment.
I think he's more success. Now I know that the injuries is a big part, but I think for what we have got out of him, I think he's been brilliant. I think his attitude is absolutely spot on. And I think that's something that Arteta played on very early to set a tone, which was talked about the way he trains, and he trains how he plays and blah blah. And I think very much used him as what's the term, yardstick? This is how you train.
As a character, as a man, as a player in the dressing room, success. As a player, because of the injuries, I can't say success, because since signing him, we've signed another left back, and we've also played a right back at left back. Yep. So I just struggle to call him a success. Even you know how I feel about him.
No, I know
he's my favourite
of
the bunch.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to call him a success when he's had so many injuries over the time.
I hear that. David says, if the Milinkovic-Savic rumours are true, then it's a wrap. I've not seen enough, but I will have a little look at that. going into this weekend, and maybe we'll discuss it ahead of the match on Saturday, which, as I said, we will be covering. Let's just round things off. It's not Arsenal news, but it is kind of ownership news, and I know that's a topic that Turkish has mentioned once or twice, I think. It's around the Glazers.
Yeah.
And let me just get up this tweet I like from United View. Guys, go check out the United View Flex. It does some amazing work there, but this was it. So, Avram Glazer has commented on the possible sale of Man United. He has said, it's not necessarily a sale, it's a process, and we're going forward with the process. So we'll see what happens. That's the update. It's the process, and the process is proceeding.
Yes. I want to get on to Saeed tonight on Big Six. Do you know how many process words? Hey, yes.
He's used the word process 1, 2, 3, 4, and then proceeding. So
he should have said the process is processing to wrap it all up. That's what he should have said.
The process is proceeding. You can't get much better than that. That is an amazingly hilarious.
But when
quote.
he came out, you know what, big up Big Steve for this, because when he originally came out, the Glazers, and said, we're looking to sell, Steve actually came into the Big Six WhatsApp group and said, listen, this is just to take the heat off him. Ronaldo interview, lack of care and attention over the years. It's saying that they're up for selling will take all the heat away, and then allow fans to kind of wait and see, which he's done. And now the Ronaldo interviews history, people are more so talking about his Portugal performances, the end of his World Cup dream, who's he moving on to next, or the Piers Morgan stuff is gone. Now he's coming out Glazers to say, well, it's a process, it's processing, we'll see.
We will proceed with the process and see how it's
good.
Proceeds.
I'm glad to hear that. Long may it continue.
I love that the word process was used so much against us, and even though we got sick of it ourselves, it's now just the buzzword that most people want to use to basically say, can you be a bit patient? We need a bit of time here. Big up Big Steve. Always love seeing Big Steve. We saw him in Manchester for the FCAs, and he's right. I will say, I think we talked about it on this show, and then we said, when you look at the wording,
we did, we did.
It's not we're trying to sell. It's we're going to look at opportunities. We'll see what happens. We're seeking investment. It could be a sale. Blah, blah, blah. It wasn't like, that's it. We want rid of Man United.
Yeah, we're up for sale.
And I was surprised it kind of. Listen, I understand the excitement. I think if KSC had put something out like that at the time, especially when things had gone really bad, I think we would have really seen the positives and all that. If any United fans are following this, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you are watching AFTV, I'd love to know your comments. Please don't think that we're here to troll. I mean, we are here to have a little bit of fun, but largely, I think there's a genuine conversation to be had around it. And I do think it's quite interesting. I think the Liverpool one is slightly different, or is it? Because even them, I read their statement. I wasn't really sure. They were looking for an investor, I think.
A chunk of shares or something.
But I think they've been quite transparent, if I'm right, in terms of it's for extra investment, and they would be giving away a part, and there would be a deal to be done. So I saw a quote from Fabrizio Romano tweeted it, and it was about, let me get it up. Romano tweeted it, and it was a quote from Eric Ten Hag about the situation. Let me just get that up very quickly. My word, he tweets so much. Oh my word, look at all these tweets.
Is that Romano?
Yeah. He is on it. Anyway.
This is his element now with transfer window time.
Yeah. He says, Ten Hag on Man United takeover. I'm told it will only be good things. There will be more investment possible, and so it's good news. Richard Arnold confirmed to me that more money will become available for this project. So it's better.
The guy spent 200+ mil in the summer. Saying investment is good news.
At least they're not being denied the funds now. Because it must have been hard. Are you kidding me?
200 mil year in, year out. Sometimes 300 mil. If you look since the last 10 years, $1 billion. It's just crazy. Spending money isn't an issue at Man United. They've spent more than enough money to be a better team than they are. It's how they've spent it. And the constant chopping and changing and going down different routes and different philosophies that have led them into this position.
United fans who might take issue with what we're saying, please don't think, I'm not talking about the Glazers taking dividends. I'm not talking about the allocation of resources. I'm not talking about how you make your money. That I've heard United fans debate that stuff, and at least the bits I've heard, they've got some great points on that are true. I'm just trolling, and I think we're just joking about when it comes to the, money will be available to spend on the team. And I really like Ten Hag, by the way. I think he's going to be a success at United. I do. I really rate him. But let's not pretend this team has lacked investment. It hasn't.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Look at the amount they've spent. That's why I always say the Kroenkes are worse than the Glazers, for sure. I don't care about what they've taken out and all of that nonsense. What they've spent in terms of player recruitment should be enough to have United challenging for all honours, not just Premier League, all honours. But it's not. So you got to look at different. Do you think it's the jacuzzi that stopped them from competing? It's not the fucking jacuzzi either, or the chef. It's not the chef either. It's the lack of direction. And yes, that can come from the Glazers. I get that. But they've spent a hell of a lot of money.
Big up KG. If you haven't watched the We Come in Peace videos, they're incredible. They are absolutely incredible. China says, read some of our comments for fuck's sake. Guys, we're going to leave it there. It's been a lot of fun. Okay, well, I can't do that. We have. Joel asks, why are AFTV talking Man United? Because they're one of our rivals. It impacts the kind of competition we're going to have in the league. It's an ownership situation, which we've been in ourselves in the last couple of years. I don't know what.
And it's good news. It's good news for Arsenal fans. Long may the Glazers be in charge of United.
Some great comments coming in. They spent poorly on the pitch, but you do have to respect that their stadium is dying. I mean, I've heard about the leak in the roof and all that. Look, every football club deserves to be looked after. When you've got the resources and the income they've got and the revenues and all that, I sympathise with Man United fans massively. And they're the ones I talk to. I don't actually think I've never heard one, at least when I'm speaking to them, ever complain about the investment in the team. They're just saying, hire competent people, good at their job, put the right people in place, and let operate like a proper football club. And I think I can totally respect it.
Josh just messaged me saying it's funny when James gets angry at the comments. Hope you guys enjoy it too.
I hope you do. Was it Chris who said, I want to be entertained on the M25? Well, are you not entertained? HK says, our process precedes us. That might be true. If it's what I think it means. All right. We'll leave it there. I don't think there's much more to talk on, but we'll keep up with all the ownership stuff. I personally find it very interesting. I think a lot of other people do, and I think it's very interesting from an Arsenal perspective when you look at the Daniel Ek stuff, when you look at everything we've had the last few years. It's interesting to see which go ahead, what they're going for, blah blah blah. Like I think it's right we keep on top of that. So all right. Guess we'll leave it there. Turkish, big thanks as always. As Turkish mentioned, there is no live tomorrow. We're so sorry. But you will see us live on Saturday for the Arsenal-Juve game. We'll be going live an hour before kickoff, just over an hour before kickoff. We'll get the starting lineup. We'll be breaking everything down. We'll have an amazing panel as always. Of course, people will be at the game. They'll be giving us their thoughts after. And anything, transfer related, breaking news, you'll hear it here first on AFTV. But of course, Supporters Club is coming. We're recording Forever Arsenal podcast tonight. It's a late recording. You know what that means. It means Lee Judge's filter is just slightly less filtered. And I think that's pretty much it, guys. So we'll catch you on the next one. Check out the AFTV merch, Christmas merch, and of course, just celebrate your players on AFTVstore.com. Links in the description below. We'll leave it there. Big thanks, Turkish, as always, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Love.